Lately, there's been a lot of talk about Catherine, the Princess of Wales. But most of it misses the point. You'd think by now we'd get it, that what happens inside the palace isn't always what they tell us in the fancy press releases. The truth is much deeper than people realize. We're not just talking about her getting better after a tough year. Catherine almost died, and that's not just some made-up story. It's the scary reality that's finally coming out. It's easy to look at her bright smile at big events or how she carries herself in public and think everything's fine. But looks can be deceiving. Just over a year ago, Catherine was getting chemotherapy after a major surgery that found cancer. But what people aren't talking about is why she even needed that surgery. Before anyone even knew about her illness, she was already dealing with a serious stomach problem that had been getting worse way before anyone realized she was sick. And here's where things get a little uncomfortable for the palace. That stomach issue, the one no one wants to talk about, almost took her life. It wasn't just the cancer, it was everything building up. The months of pain and getting worse, which, according to people close to her, left her barely holding on. But still, most of the stories out there act like she just took a little break for a private health issue. Like it was all under control, but it never really was. This wasn't a simple cold where you rest for a few days and get better. Cancer treatment wrecks your body in ways that don't show up in photos. Some people say Catherine still can't do everything she used to. Her public events are spaced out carefully, not just because she's tired, but because her recovery is still happening, slowly and painfully. And some royal insiders say she's still not back to full health. Take, for example, her not being at Royal Ascot. One minute she's expected, the next she's off the guest list with no real reason why. Instead of being honest about her health, the palace said it was just a scheduling mix-up. Come on, that's not a mistake. That's a cover-up. People are starting to see that something serious is still going on behind the scenes. Rebecca English, a trusted royal reporter, dropped a big truth bomb in her recent story. She quoted someone close to Catherine saying she's been through hell and back, not in a figurative way, but literally. And yet that quote is getting buried under headlines about her dresses and public smiles. This is a quiet way of admitting something the palace doesn't want to say out loud. Catherine was dangerously sick, and she might not be completely out of danger. And that's the bigger issue here, not just her health, but how the royal family refuses to share the full story. Last year, when Prince William missed that memorial for the King of Greece, the palace said it was no big deal. Just a scheduling issue, they said. But now looking back, it seems like it had to do with Catherine's health getting worse, and some people knew it all along. But they said nothing, because that's how the royal PR game works. Say as little as possible and hope it all blows over. But this time, it didn't. The silence created a vacuum, and in that vacuum came conspiracy theories and rumors. All of this could have been avoided with just a little honesty. Instead, we got misdirection again. Rebecca English's report didn't just confirm suspicions, it opened everything wide up. Her sources said Catherine had a complete mental reset after all she's been through. She's now more clear than ever about what matters to her. Right now, that means protecting her peace, her family, and her privacy. She's not playing by the old royal rules anymore, where you just smile, wave, and show up no matter what. Now she's picking her moments carefully. And that's not weakness. That's survival. Behind the scenes, people who know her say she's setting firmer boundaries. She doesn't say yes to everything. She thinks about it. Will it take too much out of her? If the answer is no, she stays home. That's why she wasn't at Royal Ascot. That's why she might not be at the state banquet next month, not because she doesn't care, but because she can't push herself too hard yet. And even with all this, Catherine is still managing to make a strong comeback. Events like Trooping the Color, Order of the Garter, and the new V&A storehouse were not easy for her. But she picked her battles. She showed up when it really mattered, then took time to rest and recharge. It's a pattern now, and the palace is starting to accept it. Even King Charles, who's also getting cancer treatment, fully supports her approach. He understands. He's not pushing her. If anything, he's reportedly protecting her from being pushed too hard. The royal family, with all its ceremony and tradition, isn't ignoring reality. And in this case, the reality is tough. Recovery from chemotherapy isn't a straight line. There are setbacks, lingering effects, and worst of all, constant uncertainty. Anyone who's been through cancer or watched someone go through it knows that the fear doesn't go away. The question always hangs over you. Is it really gone or is it coming back? That alone can keep someone on edge for a long time. Catherine's inner circle knows this, and so do the people she works with. Yet there's still pressure from the public. There's this weird feeling that they're entitled to her presence, like being royal means she should just bounce back on command. But that's not how it works. She's not a symbol. She's a human being who almost died. And that part is finally being understood by the people who've stayed quiet for too long. It's also why the palace's story is slowly starting to change. They're not telling everything, but they're starting to hint at the truth. They're letting a trusted journalist say what they won't say out loud. Words like seriously unwell and fortunate to be recovering are carefully chosen. These are soft signals, easing the public into the reality of how serious things were. But that approach has risks too. Too much secrecy, and the public starts filling in the blanks with whatever they can find. We saw it earlier this year when the palace tried to act like everything was fine. That silence caused chaos. Rumors started flying, everything from marriage problems to crazy ideas like body doubles. It was ridiculous but not surprising. You can't stay quiet in 2024 and expect nothing to happen. Not with everyone having a phone and a podcast. Catherine's trying to handle this mess with grace. She's not hiding, she's managing. And if the people around her are smart, they'll stop pretending she's ready to jump back into royal life full time. Because from everything we're hearing, she's not. She might show up at Wimbledon, she might meet with foreign leaders, but she'll do it on her terms, not because it's expected. Wimbledon might be her next public step, but even that's not a sure thing. People close to Catherine say she's taking it week by week, listening to her doctors, her energy, and her instincts. There's no strict calendar, no royal plan. Just a woman trying to figure out how to live again after a year that almost took everything from her. And even though she's smiling in public, she still carries a heavy weight privately. What's striking is how much Catherine's experience has shown how fragile the palace's communication strategy is. When she disappeared from the spotlight earlier this year, the lack of clear answers caused a disaster. The public started speculating, and the media jumped in with crazy theories. It wasn't just a PR mistake, it was a lesson. Silence doesn't protect you anymore, it just invites chaos. Now, insiders admit the royal family didn't fully understand how hungry the modern internet is for answers. By the time they realized it, the storm had already started. Late-night talk shows made jokes, Twitter exploded with theories, and even the royal fans started to question what was really going on. All because Catherine, one of the most loved members of the royal family, wasn't being seen or heard. That chaos could have been avoided. Not by spilling private medical details, but just by admitting that something was wrong. Instead, the palace tried to downplay it, with vague statements, doctored photos, and a message that there was nothing to see. Looking back, that made things worse. Not because people want gossip, but because they want honesty, especially from people they admire. King Charles, despite battling his own illness, seems to understand this better than anyone. He's been more open about his health, sharing just enough information to keep the public in the loop without inviting too much scrutiny. That balance has earned him respect. And in his quiet support for Catherine's approach, he's sending a clear message. This royal family is changing. It's no longer about keeping a stiff upper lip and staying silent. It's about dignity with a little honesty. Some comparisons have popped up, and they're not fair. People point out that Charles, being older and going through treatment, is still working hard. So why can't Catherine? But that argument falls apart when you think about it. Everyone's body reacts to cancer differently. Everyone's recovery is unique. While Charles may be working at full capacity, Catherine is allowed to take a slower path. One doesn't make the other wrong. Even behind the palace walls, it seems like people are understanding this. Sources say Catherine is becoming more assertive about protecting her time, her boundaries, and her family. She's not being rude, she's being smart. The trauma of almost dying doesn't just go away because someone tells you to show up for a public event. It stays with you. It shapes what you care about and where you draw the line. That's why people close to her say she's different now. Stronger in some ways, quieter in others. She's still dedicated to her causes, especially early childhood and family issues, but she's doing it differently. More behind the scenes at her own pace. Whether she returns to full-time royal life or not, one thing is clear. Catherine isn't here to just play a role. She's here to live. And if that means showing up less but living more truthfully, then maybe that's exactly what the monarchy needs. Not just a symbol of grace, but a survivor standing on her own terms.